When people realize they have a HTTP resource, that they can use it for multiple applications in their own enterprise, and then they can build services from it downstream. So whereas they used to have a resource that they could find on a file system that an application server could use, now they realize they have the web tier and the storage tier is unified really in our system. So they can get web resources directly from the storage tier. And so not only can the application server use it, but the mobile downstream devices can use it, and other services can consume that resource. So we definitely see, it goes in for the first use case, and then storage architects and software architects, they start realizing it, and then there become different access paths to those same resources, whether it's internal or building public services. There's a lot of discussion up front when the system goes in about how to configure the policies and what kind of lifecycle management policies to use on an object. There's usually a lot of discussion of worm. There's a lot of discussion of retention. There's a lot of discussion also, we have really nice features to minimize the raw to usable impact of an object over time. So for instance, you could start with 3 replicas, and then after a year it could change to 9.2 erasure coding. So it can go from 300% overhead for the object to 11% of the overhead downstream when it's not really going to be used that much anymore. So people talk about that quite a bit, and then they usually go to a fairly simple strategy. And the strategy is something like pick an ideal erasure coding strategy that corresponds to the level of RAID they grew up with, or the level of data protection that they want to hit on a spreadsheet where they're picking their 9s. So they might decide that really a 9-4 erasure strategy is what they want, because they want to be able to lose 4 disks at a time and still have access to all their data. So I find them going one way or the other. Our policies aren't usually enforced at the code level to the regulatory and compliance certificate, but what it does is it boils down to simple retention policies like write once, read many, immutable objects as a strategy for all the data in a system, because usually a system's being created sort of special case, start to finish. And so a hospital with a 7-year retention policy on data will end up being an immutable object with a no delete 7-year retention policy.